And to continue on with that, let's look at the Italian situation with their head coach. And this is a really interesting story to pick up on. So Roberto Mancini is back as Italy's head coach. He had previous form in the job, obviously winning the Euro 2020 title, which didn't really want to read out because I was there myself, having to see England lose on a penalty shootout. But he also had a world record unbeaten run, so you can't dispute him doing well. Obviously, missing out on the 2022 World Cup was a shame and led to him losing his job. But he's a winner with the Euros, and they've got the Euros next coming up, so not necessarily a bad decision. So he's returning to an Italian federation that, let's be honest, is in disarray. Gattuso left in the spring after Italy missed the third straight World Cup, with their federation president also resigning, which is just incredible. No Italy at a World Cup, just it never feels right. And a new president came in promising a brave and successful, humble yet ambitious new era, as he described it, and then handed the keys to Paolo Maldini, hiring him as technical director to rebuild the national team from the academy up. So Maldini's first important job was to find the coach. He was very ambitious. To be truthful, we initially approached Pep Guardiola, who said no. Pep wants to continue his time away from football, though he did say he would like to return to international management, but maybe just not yet. Then next up was Carlo Ancelotti, who of course we know is Italian, but he also said no because he's staying with the Brazilian Federation. Of course, he just joined them and didn't have the most successful World Cup, getting knocked out in the round of 16 against Norway. Then just a few days ago, Andrea Pirlo came into the frame, and this is perhaps the most controversial part of it because it was discovered his ties to a Russian betting company were evident, which blew up into a full-blown scandal with public and political backlash in Italy, making the appointment essentially untenable, and the federation pulled the plug. And that was the final straw for Pablo Maldini, who resigned within 16 days of taking the job. And the door reopened for Roberto Mancini to step in as Italy's head coach once again. And it's bonkers, really, because when you think of Paolo Maldini for how incredible he was as a footballer. Of course, the AC Milan centre-half is arguably the greatest of all time, and what he did at Italy will be remembered. So it's crazy how someone's legacy can be shaken up like that in less than 20 days. But I guess my question for you, Nadine, is can Italy actually move forward from here? Are they going to get out this revolving door of not getting into World Cups? Or, you know, does this look like a bold new era or just more of the same?
I love the word bonkers, by the way. There was a nightclub in Birmingham called Bonkers I used to go to when I was a student. Sorry, I haven't heard that word for a long time. Sorry, back to your question. Just zooming out a bit, I think since winning the World Cup in 2006, Italy, let's remind ourselves, have crashed out in the group stage twice.
Yeah.
And in 2010 and 2014, that's when they crashed out of the group stage. And then they missed qualification 3 times, if I'm right in remembering, 2018, 2022, and then 2026 are basically the last 3 occasions, which is just not good enough for Italy and the Italian fans who love their football. But sometimes I think Italian fans love their clubs more than their nation. I don't know if there's more loyalty there that way. But even so, you know, the country expects better. And an Italian federation report this year found that Serie A had the oldest average squad age in Europe's top leagues. And adding to that, the report also found out that a third of Serie A players are even eligible for the Italy team. So, you know, there's not a lot to choose from sort of that homegrown talent. And that their league ranks near the bottom globally for minutes given to under 21 players, which obviously is the foundation, the bedrock of your future competition. So, you know, all those stats are quite alarming, and I've just sort of cherry-picked 3 of them. There were lots of other alarming factors within that report. And going back to appointing Roberto Mancini for a second time does smack of scraping the barrel to a point, but he has had proven success as well as disappointment, as you've pointed out, with the Italian national team. And he managed Italy from 2018 to 2023. During that time, sorry to reinforce that he won Euro 2020. Cover your ears, James, by beating England at Wembley. I wasn't there, but I watched on TV. I know you were. And he also led them to that world beaten, I think it was a 37 game unbeaten
It
run.
was, yeah.
But it wasn't glory, all glory, as you said. He also failed to qualify for the 2022 World Cup, losing a playoff to North Macedonia. But actually, didn't lose his job over that, James. I have to sort of deflect that point, I think you said. He actually resigned in 2023 himself to take the Saudi Arabian job for a bigger paycheck. So you stand or sit corrected there. And then replacing Maldini as technical director is, guess who? It's Claudio Ranieri, who's 74 years old. Claudio, I'm sure you know, James, but listeners may remember he led Leicester City to their fairy tale Premier League title win in 2015-2016 season before being unceremoniously sacked by them in 2017. But since leaving Leicester, my goodness, he's got around. He's managed several other clubs, including Nantes, Fulham, Roma, Sampdoria, Watford, Cagliari in Sardinia. I think that's the capital of Sardinia. Bit of geography there for you. But I was under the impression that that job in Sardinia was likely to be his final club. But he then came out again out of retirement for another reign at Roma. So he clearly feels he still has something to give. Otherwise, why would he take up this position with the Italian national side? I mean, he is 74, but he's obviously a very youthful 74, and it must be very hard, having had a lifetime of experience in football, to walk away from one of the biggest jobs in town that there is. So, I've got mixed feelings about these two appointments.
Yeah, I would actually say that I don't mind these two appointments in regard to they're both very experienced. I think Italy have, in relation to their players, quite a youthful player selection right now, and so I think a bit of experience is necessary. Claudio Ranieri's obviously had a fantastic career, notably Leicester winning the Premier League. And in Mancini's favour as well, he led Man City to their first Premier League title in 2012, and that was a crazy day. Mum, you're a QPR fan, so you'll remember it well when Sergio
Don't.
Aguero scored the last minute winner. But you stayed up anyway, so it wasn't the end of the world for QPR. But going back to that, he also enjoyed success with Lazio, Inter Milan, winning the Coppa Italia with both these sides, and 3 Serie A titles with Inter. But in 2026, is their return actually a fresh start, or is it just familiar faces papering over the bigger cracks?
Well, the Federation, as you mentioned, promised a bold new era and instead delivered a chaotic fortnight, 2 high profile resignations, and a return to 2 men who've been here before. The structural problems, youth development, ageing squads, limited pathways for young Italian players hasn't gone anywhere. So I think whoever's in the dugout, those issues are still waiting to be fixed. So I'm probably slightly less optimistic than you are. But just going back to Pirlo, controversy aside, do you think he was the right call in the first place? I mean, I think you know more about him than I do.
Yeah, controversy aside, I'd still say no, he wasn't. Uh, Obviously sacked after just 1 season at Juventus, and his points per game record was something like 2 at Juventus, which is actually quite good, but he wasn't successful there. He also left the Turkish side, Fatih Karagümrük. Forgive me, listeners, if I pronounce that.
Yes, at last you can't pronounce something. Hurrah, join the club.
He was there after just a year and sacked again at Sampdoria as well, and then a spell at Dubai United. So he's got quite an attacking style of play, but style of play doesn't mean anything. And I don't think he had enough in his experience or to show for being the Italian head coach.